Here.
Ms. LaBeouf?
She's here. Unmute yourself.
Here. Sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Jarman?
Here.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Gear?
Here.
Okay, we have 6 members. Well, we have 4 members present, 2 supernumeraries. So Mr. Roberts will be a voting member tonight. Is Mr. Foley expected?
I had not heard from him that he was not going to be here,
Okay,
but we did not, I don't think we sent an email out about attendance today, or if I did, I didn't see it.
Mr. Gear, just for your general information, if for some reason Mr. Roberts has to recuse himself from a matter, you will be voting. So for that reason, it's important that you hang out and listen and kind of know what's going on.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do we have any communications from the vice chair?
No.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We will move on to old business. We've been notified that 1600 Beckham is still in talks with staff at the BEZ, so they are carrying over to next month's meeting. And the other bit of old business has already been carried over to the October meeting. So then we'll move on to new business.
Mr. Jarman, I believe
Yes,
we have minutes.
Oh, you are absolutely right. We do. My apologies. We have August 6th meeting minutes. If everyone's had a chance to go over them and submit any changes, we can entertain a motion to approve.
I move we vote to approve the
moved.
minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion from Ms. LaBeouf and a second from Mr. Cole. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, they are approved. Okay, so new business. First case is BZA SV 200901, which is 609 Morris Boulevard. Is Mr. or Mrs. Jones?
Yes, I'm here, Steve Jones.
Okay, if you'll state your name and address for the record and the nature of your hardship.
Great. Steve Jones, address is 609 Morris Boulevard. We are looking to add a second story to our home at 609 Morris Boulevard. We are on a corner lot, and so our current house sits out of compliance with the existing footprint. And we are looking to gain the setback on the second front of the corner, and then the left side of our lot. We are not going to exceed the current footprint. We are just going to go straight up off of the current footprint. But our hardship is it being a corner lot, it would be difficult to add the second story and still maintain the 25-foot setback on the Edgewood Place side of our lot.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak about this case, you may do so at this time. I believe entering the chat is the way to do it.
Yes, if you'd like to speak to this item, you could put your name and address in the chat, and then your name will be added to the speaker list, and they will call on you, and you can unmute at that time.
Okay, looks like we do not have any public comments. So we will close the public portion and open up to questions from the board.
Mr. German, may I speak?
Certainly.
I just wanted to say that because of the width of this lot, the required, if this were not a corner lot, the required side yard setback on the non-compliant side would have been 9 feet. And although it still would have been non-conforming, it would have only been 1.3 feet instead of 17 feet as it is now. When the zoning ordinance was changed, making that side street a front, that's when it became very much out of conformance. I just wanted to kind of clear that little tidbit up, because the amount of the variance is quite large. That the application, I believe, that was originally submitted was requesting a 1 foot variance, but that's not correct, because that's assuming that it would have, if with a 25-foot setback on that side, it's actually a 17-foot variance.
Right, because it's
To
corner lot.
reduce, to reduce the setback from 25 feet to 7.7 feet.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify in case it was confusing in the staff report.
Chairman,
Yes.
it's Greg Cobb. We recently changed that setback from the 5 and 9 or 10 and 10 to the 25. And that was just done in the past year to discourage people splitting lots and, building out like that. And it wasn't intended to harm the existing houses. It was just to prevent the future split of lots that caused that issue. So that change has been made just in the last year.
We could have a very long discussion about that, Greg.
Yes, we could.
Yes.
Very, very long.
But I want to
But it
bring that
wouldn't
up.
be contentious. It wouldn't be
No.
a contentious discussion, because I believe staff would agree with it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
that's all. That's my 2 cents worth. I'm gonna go back and have a cold beer. Good night.
No, you're not. Stay
Thanks,
on.
Greg. Okay, Mr. Jones, just to reiterate, you're staying within the footprint of the entire house, or just on the right side?
Of the entire house. We're staying on the existing footprint of the entire house. So we're going to use the same load-bearing exterior walls and not extend out what the current footprint is.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll still
okay.
have the fireplace there,
We will, which is
but
actually
that takes up part. Yeah, that takes up
That's
the
right.
variance request is the
Well,
That's-
see, and I checked
That's
it
right.
because I wanted to make sure that it actually was a structure that was to
Yeah.
the ground and not cantilevered. So that would be within that variance request, instead of
That's right.
I think you said the house was 9 feet, but the fireplace was 7 or something like that. So that's why I had to include that.
Yes, ma'am. And it'll be a true masonry fireplace, so it will go all the way down to
Yeah.
the ground with a footing.
Good.
Right.
So I would make a few comments on that particular side, Edgewood Place side. I mean, also from the property line to the curb line, we still have another, looks like over 12 feet, maybe 13 feet.
At
So
the
that
narrow
particular
point.
side of the house, yeah, and that particular, yeah, that's at the chimney, correct.
Yeah.
So on that particular side has not, does not give me too much to worry about. I'm more worried about the other side. We don't have plans of this addition. And the reason I have a little bit of a concern is you're next door, pretty close to the house next door to you. And if you go up a full 2 stories, you're kind of imposing on top of them at that point. Is this a full 2-story where all the walls are going around the whole perimeter, or using some of the roof line, and you just might have some windows popping out of them? Do you know at this point with the second floor what it looks like?
We do. I have some drawings. I could share my screen if that would help. I could show you what we're going to be doing. Would that be helpful?
Sure. That would for me.
Yep. Give me a second. I'm going to have to give you permission. Hang on just a second.
Okay, great. Thanks. Let me.
You're up.
Okay. You can share now.
All right, let me go. I'm going to grab.
Jones apparently knows how to do this.
I'm hoping so.
I would be hunting and pecking. Where's the share my screen button?
That would be me. Do what?
Every time is like our first time.
I know.
And I do want to remind you that that left side is compliant. So, with the required setback. I understand what your concern is, though, Mr. Cole. I just wanted to throw that tidbit in.
It's 3 feet off. You need
No,
with a 3-foot variance.
he has the 5. He has a 5 and 9 because of the width of his lot.
Can you all see my
I'm
screen?
just
Yes, we see that.
I'm reading your report, so I'm a little confused. Your report says that we have a 3-foot setback variance on the left side.
It also says the rear building setback is 5 feet.
Is this thing reversed? Again, I get confused with these corner lots anymore. So
Yeah.
So here is the existing floor plan. This is what where our house currently lies. And then here is the addition. And you can see, I think you can see there that the walls go straight up from the existing walls. So they're the same.
well, you have a portion of it does.
Correct. And then, so the elevation on that side that will be the elevation.
Yeah, okay. That's
for
what I
the
was looking for.
Yes.
Thank you. So it's not the whole
No.
2 stories coming all the way up. It's mostly the roof lines, and it's just one section that
That's correct. It's a
breaks the fit
vault.
there.
A vault.
Yeah, I got it. Right, I got that. Back to our question, though. In our packet, it says the left side is 9 feet, and you're 6 feet from the property, and we have a 3-foot variance request. Is that
Where?
not correct?
No, where does it say that?
It's on page 6 of 6.
It does say
Yeah, on both copies.
But
that.
That's, but if you're saying the 9 is on the other side and that side is the 5 foot,
No, it's, well, I clearly don't have what you have because since the lot is less than 55 feet wide at the building line, he would have a 5 and 9. And since the left side is at 6, where it would be 5.
Yeah, this is written backwards. They have the 5 foot with the over 20 feet, so I think it might be written backwards in our packet.
It says,
You also have it in the agenda that it has a 3-foot left building setback there.
mhm.
Aren't we just talking about the front, the second front, the 7.7 feet? Maybe I'm misreading this. I don't.
They're talking about the left and rear building setback.
Right.
So my left building setback on the form says 9 feet required. What's everyone else say?
9.
So it's 9, but I agree, it should be 5. The 25 is your other, I guess,
Yeah.
higher number setback. But it is written
So
incorrectly.
we're not looking at a 3-foot left setback for this
No.
particular thing, even though it says it on
Yeah.
our forms and in our agenda.
Oh, wait, there's Vicky. Wait,
Somebody's
Vicky,
talking. I can't hear them.
you know, Vicky's trying to talk. Hey, Vicky? Yeah. You are very, very muffled. Are you still? Yeah, take it off speakerphone. I know that you were going to speak with somebody about this request. Just to correct the actual amount of the variance from 1.3 feet to, it's actually 17.3 feet on this, on the right side facing on that second front. So, but I didn't, I guess my copy of the application doesn't say anything about a 3-foot. I must have an old. Oh, where'd she go?
I got misdirected here. Anyway, the two fronts are, the 25, and then.
Can y'all hear her?
Not really.
No.
Hey, Vicky?
Yeah. I've got it unmuted.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear you. You're just very, very muffled. Is it on speakerphone?
I'm on my computer.
Oh,
And
okay.
It's up at 100%.
Lean in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm nose to nose with Ty right now.
There we go.
Okay, remember on corner lots, we have 2 fronts and 2 sides. So the 9, by definition, the side with the closest neighbor.
Can't really hear you.
Gotta get back face to face with Ty.
Wait, I'm gonna, hey, Vicky, I'm gonna call you on my cell phone.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna put you on speakerphone and maybe that will help. But I don't know.
Vicky could call in too and turn off her computer speaker.
Okay.
All right. Can y'all hear her now?
She has to turn off her computer speaker now.
Okay. Let me do that. Okay, I should be.
It's actually
Can
because
you have Vicky just have Vicky just call in
yeah.
like we did?
Yeah, just call in.
Also, let Vicky know we understand the 17.3. We're talking about the left side.
Yeah.
If it's 9 feet or 5 feet, that's all we're asking.
Right. In the worst case scenario, it's 5 feet. We're taking off a variance request anyway, so it shouldn't really.
Yeah. Yeah. It won't
That's how,
affect
yeah,
her to be able
that's
to
how I
continue.
reviewed it.
Yeah.
When I originally submitted for permit, the request for the setback came from that Edgewood Place side, that 17.3 feet.
Right. I think there's just a typo or clerical, error.
Yeah, I don't know.
One that was corrected apparently and not
Yeah.
sent back out, which you just get Vicky to explain it really quickly and then should be able to move on. If we want to,
Which part of it are you unclear about?
I don't think I'm unclear about
Well,
anything.
is it 9 feet or 5 feet?
Right. Our packets
The
say
left
9
and
and
what's
she
the
said,
rear?
ma'am,
Can someone share and show her our sheet? Brian, can you do that? So she can see what we're looking at? Or we
Whoever.
can do it like
Hang
Beverly.
on. Let me zoom in on Miss LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Well, come on.
Move it over a bit. A little more. Up there.
See, yeah, I don't have that one. That is crazy.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Right. That's just what and like I said, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really going to make a difference in his request for the Edgewood Place side. It just, I don't know, somebody to say, hey, it's supposed to
Well,
be
it
5
makes a
feet.
difference it makes a difference if it's a request or not.
Yeah, Vicky is joined by phone now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Now you're echoing.
Oh, crap. Okay. The 9 feet should be nearest the neighbor, and which the way we're looking at the left side. So that's why on the sheet that I have, there was a 3-foot variance requested.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have a 3-foot request.
Okay, I didn't have that update, and that is not how I reviewed it. I assumed that the 9 foot was the corner, and 5 feet was the left side, and making him compliant on that side.
Would that be just because the house to the left has a 5-foot setback up against this property? So 5s and 9s go together?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Did we check in,
So-
and we checked that setback too?
Yeah, well, regardless, the house that is on if you're in the street looking at the house, to the left, that's going to be his closest neighbor regardless. So, but 2 ways are across the street and the third is an alley. So the 9 foot goes there. And if you look at the letters that went out to the adjacent property owners, it called for the 17.3 feet front on the Edgewood Place side and a 3-foot left building setback. So, I mean, we advertised to clear up that one on the left and along Edgewood Place.
Okay.
Okay. So the packets we have are correct. Good.
Okay. Get you time?
Yeah, no, I guess I'm the one that brought that up, but yeah, we have a 3 foot. That's why I wanted to see this elevation, how that was handled on that side. I would be more worried if the whole house was 2 stories all the way across that west elevation. It's not, so that's a much better solution.
It's very
Since it is
refreshing.
that close. Yeah,
Well, I move we
that's all I
approve.
have.
Okay, I move we approve BZA case SV 20-09-01.
I second.
Mr.
Thank
Roberts,
you.
okay. So we have a motion and a second. All
Yes.
right. Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. LaBeouf,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes,
okay, we never heard from Mr. Foley. Mr. Jarman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Your permit request or your variance request is approved. You have 180 days to pull your permit.
Great. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. The item number 2, staff's been made aware that the English Circle House is going to postpone their variance request until the October meeting.
Well,
for-
actually, we actually got an email that was kind of unclear to us. The email from the Strausses said that they wanted to pull it from the agenda and postpone the application. So we replied to them, does that mean you want to continue it? Are you pulling it? Because, you know, we just weren't sure. We never heard back. So I think just to be safe, continue it and then figure out what they want to do. We can always pull it if we need to next month.
Okay, so we will continue item number 2 until the October meeting. Okay. Moving on to item number 3, which is BZA case number SV 200904. That's 203 Theta Street.
This is Jared Bussey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm the architect on the project. Address is 1604 28th Avenue South in Homewood. And we are requesting a variance due to a couple of hardships. There is a slight taper to the property, and the way the current house sits on the property, there are some non-conforming conditions. What we are proposing to do, there will be a rear addition to the main level. There'll also be a front porch addition. Both of those main level additions will be in compliance. That's not part of the variance request. We are adding a second story addition, and we are doing our best to stack in a reasonable way. But as you can tell from the survey of the existing condition shows it the best. There are a couple of conditions that are very much non-conforming. There's a 3.4 foot setback at a bump out, and there's a 7.2 foot setback at the very front corner. Our addition is hedging away from those setbacks. So we're not stacking on those. We're trying to get away from them as best we can. The closest that we get is 8 feet on the very front corner. We're having to do some structural things to do that, but we want to, ask for a smaller request as we can. So because the property pinches a little bit and the house is kind of shoved over to that side. So because of those things, our request is a 2 foot variance on that right side for the second story addition. I believe Hunter Worley is on the call, but they've talked to their neighbors. They've showed them the drawings, and the neighbors are good with it and don't have any objections.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bussey. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this case, they can type their name into the list for the instructions on the screen.
I don't believe we had anybody.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll close the public portion and open up to questions from the board.
An observation, wanted to make sure that I was reading this right. It looks like the addition is really just some small slither, and it starts to come into conformance as the further back you go. Is that what you were saying?
That's correct. You can see on that second floor plan, there's I've dashed in the setback line, and so there's just a little wedge, and we've stepped that back, and we're trying to keep stepping it back. But at the worst case, there's a 2 foot,
Right.
over 2 feet. Yep.
So it's like a 2 feet to 0 little triangle. piece.
Correct. Basically, yes.
And so I would say if there's an approval, it would be based on what's drawing now, full 2 feet down the whole
Yes,
setback variance, just as drawn, basically.
that's good. But that's acceptable to us. Yes.
That's all I have.
Anything else? I move we approve BZA case SV 20-09-04.
I second.
Okay, it's a motion by Ms. LaBouffe and a second by Mr. Cole.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. LaBouffe,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Jarman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts, Mr. Roberts, we can't hear you. We can see you're trying to speak because your little light was on, but
You can put it in the chat if you'd like.
I'm off mute. Okay.
just try it again, see if maybe it was just a glitch.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, my vote is yes. I have
thank
a terrible
you.
internet connection for some reason. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so that would be 5 yeses.
Okay, thank you. Your variance request is approved. You have 180 days to pull your permit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 4 is SV 200905, 618 Weena Avenue.
Hi, it's Jeremy Allen again.
Yes, okay. If you will state your name and address and the nature of your hardship, please.
Jeremy Allen, it's 618 Weena. We are again applying for a rear yard accessory structure for a detached carport in addition to a swimming pool. The variance requires us to be at less than 30% for accessory structures and impermeable structures in the rear yard. Since the last time I presented with you guys, we went and removed the pool deck and changed it to turf. So what we're looking at now is a variance for a total of 19 additional percent to the rear yard for 1,000 feet versus 643 feet. The impermeable we are under at 613 feet. Impermeable we're under 613 feet of the 643 feet. But as far as the total accessory structures, as the second part of the rule lies, we are still over, but by 19%. Again, our total lot coverage is right at 31% for the entire space. And so I'm hoping that we can make it work this time. As far as hardship is concerned, when we tried to add to the house or renovate the house, the cost of demoing the house and going laterally would have allowed us to capture space to the side, but because it's a 65-foot lot, we have to have a 10-foot setback on that side. And 10 feet we couldn't make 10 feet work for a living space without totally revamping the entire house and basically destroying the entire structure. So it in some ways it did create where we had to, we had a 1,200 square foot house with no living room to have family space to have to go back. So that's the reason we went back. And can't put a pool in the side yard per MPD requirement. So here's where we find ourselves again.
This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this case, they can add their name to the speaker list and at this time and speak about this case.
There should be emails of support from neighbors on both sides.
Okay, seeing there's no public comment, we'll close the public portion and open up to communications from the board. There's also a letter from your rear neighbor across the alley expressing the same concerns as she did in your last request about the garage's proximity to the alley, turning radius in and out, a light pole or electrical pole in the way as well.
Per the previous discussion, we back into the garage, and I was out there again today, and I didn't know that was going to be brought up again, but it's not a foreseeable issue getting into the garage for backing into it. Pulling into it from the left side, if you were to try to just pull straight in, the pole might get in the way. But we backed into a garage on our woodland alley that was much narrower. And then as far as letters and emails, there should be an email from Robbie Richter and then John Quaid, and they were sent to Angela and Sherry. That's Angela and Miss Sherry. Angie.
There was a late addition to the speaker list. She put her name in after that. I don't know if you want to call on her. She did not include her address, but her name is on the screen if you'd like to call on her.
Yeah, I think we should. Okay, we'll reopen the public portion. Karen Smith.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is
Okay.
Karen Smith. I'm the one across the alley. I really don't want to. I'm not trying to be difficult at all. I just know that we had their neighbor, prior owner for their neighbor had the same issue, and it was really, really tight. I mean, if they can get in and out, and, I'm just across the alley from that, and I know there was a lot of consternation with the prior neighbor on that same exact issue next door to them. So if y'all think it's okay, I'll be okay with it.
Would you state your address, please, for the record?
405 Morris Boulevard.
Okay. Thank you very much. If there's no further public comment, we will reclose the public portion and open up to questions from the board.
Mr. Jarman, staff has expressed its report.
I'm sorry, staff has done what?
Staff expressed its concerns in the report.
Mr. Allen, have you talked to the pool people about doing away with that, you call it, around the area, like you have?
The pool area around the area? I'm not sure.
The coping and the decking around the pool.
Yes, ma'am, it's gone. It's.
But have you talked to the people that will be doing your pool about the safety of that and if it will cause any other issues?
I've spoke with Brandon Kirk, who built my previous pool with QCL, and we've had we had grass up to the side on other sides on my previous pool. And of course, at that time, you know, a pool permit will have to be pulled separately, I think, as a different item, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Allen, this is Sherry.
Hi.
Our concern was that you were showing, you stated that the grass was going to go up to the pool, but you're not allowing for any kind of coping around the pool, which, you know, is
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, we won't exceed the footprint that I'm allowed. Similar to when we built our addition, you know, we were approved for the setback line, and before we could even before we even blocked it in, we had the Wigan surveyors come over and delineate the lines that we've been approved for. And so when we get ready to do the pool, I would assume we'd have to do the same to make sure we're inside the 5 foot.
Let me ask the question differently that I think they're trying to figure out. Your drawing shows a pool at 450 square feet. Within that 450 square feet, I'm assuming you're going to have an edging around it, coping as a perimeter to the pool before you actually get to the water.
Yes, sir. So
Does that help?
yes, but for me, pool would be all what's contained within the 450.
Right. So the edge band that goes around with the coping, the solid material before you get to the water is within that 450.
I see what you're saying. So I would, if I wanted to keep the inside of the 450 to be only water, I would need to widen the outside coping as far as the variance is concerned.
Well,
or I would just have to build it within the 450.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's the question is the coping outside the 450 or within the 450 that you're showing?
I don't think it's allowed to be outside the 450 because then it would impinge on the 5 foot setback.
Okay. So the pool itself starts at the 450 and works its way in before you get to the water is what we're saying. Then grass gets up to the line that starts the 450.
The pool would actually probably end up having to be raised to keep from having an additional retaining wall applied for.
Right now you just want a whole different direction.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 inches, 8 inches. I mean,
Can you describe in section the edge of the pool from grass to water, what that looks like?
I'm not sure how to show a screen, but on my previous home, I had a 5 foot patch of grass, and then it was a low mortar smeared wall with a fire rock cat paver on it that was 1 foot wide that then stepped down to the water.
You can share your screen. You can share your screen if you need to.
Give me a moment. I'll see if I'll pull up a previous, pull up pictures from my previous. I'm on an iPhone. Can I share on an iPhone?
Yes, you should be able to. It should be in your menu down at the bottom. You have to find it on yours. I don't know what device you're using.
I've got share content. Sharing my screen.
Mm.
Mr. Allen, we can see you. I thought we were going to get a drawing you're going to show us or something.
I did a screen share, and
No, we didn't see anything.
I'm sorry, I pulled up a photo. I just emailed the photo of the previous pool edge to Miss Sherry. I'm sorry for the lag. I can certainly try it again. I'm not set as the host right now. I apologize.
And while we're waiting, I guess my holdup with regards to the hardship you're talking about, where the 10-foot setbacks on either side, they forced you to move the house back instead of going widthwise. Is that what you were saying?
In order to keep the original footprint of the house in any of the walls intact. I mean, we had it drawn to where we tried to utilize the width of the lot, but it was going to require us to tear the whole house down, and the bids were $150,000 more than just adding on to the rear of the house.
Right.
We couldn't afford to do a full demo on the house. Plus, it's a historical home that we tried to keep and maintain the craftsman side of it. So,
no, and I appreciate that, but I guess I don't know. I'm having a hard time combining the two. Yes, that affected your house, but since you have a 65-foot wide lot, that gives you so much more room in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was a 55-foot wide lot, your percentages with these two side structures would be, exponentially higher. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around how we're using it for both.
If I were
the
to
rear stuff and the house.
If I were to attach the carport and bring it up into that side yard, one, there's only 20 feet there, which is without having to get a variance to get closer. I can only put one car there, which is, it's doesn't meet our needs. If I had to move the carport or make it a garage up onto the house, that would then force me to build a 400 square foot parking driveway to get to it. So then there's no room for any other accessory structures after that. Or it requires me to not have any living space on the back of the house. There's just nowhere for anything to fit. And we went through multiple iterations. At one point, we had attached a garage to the back of the house, and it had a 30-foot by 20-foot driveway. That's 600 feet. That's my whole rear yard setback at that point. And then I have no room for a pool. I have no room for anything else other than just the driveway at that point. So that, I would say that's the hardship, is trying not to destroy the house and do a haul off or a complete tear down, and you know, trying to be smart with money, and then trying to be the best steward I can of the space that's in the back by not attaching the carport and garage to the house and having a huge driveway. You know, the neighbor it saddens me a little bit. I thought that they had sent emails because I spoke with them both. The neighbor to my west has an attached garage, single car, and the rest of his backyard is basically driveway. And they have a small swing set. And the one to the other side, he has a detached carport garage, and it's the 5 feet off. And so I'm trying to mirror that same look, where by putting the accessory structure in the backyard and not attaching it to the house, I don't have to pour this huge slab of concrete to get to it. I'm only having to, you know, I've got 2 feet from the edge of the alley to where my property actually begins. And so then I would have, you know, the 5 foot, 5 to 7 feet or whatever it would be of concrete there to meet the garage or carport, rather than sneaking it up there. Because we looked at moving it up to where that covered porch is and putting it there, but that's 35 feet from the property line. And at that point, I'm doing 650 feet of concrete to get to the carport, to get to the back of the garage there. Because if I'm 35 feet from the back of it and I'm 20 feet wide, that's 700 feet of concrete. So I have no room for any kind of a variance at that point, even if I kept the back of the house straight. So that's why we detached it, was to be able to try to detach it and have room for a structure and still get the parking that we need to have.
Yeah, I mean, I get why it's attached. I do.
Brian, can you tell me please how to share the screen? I'm trying to do it from my iPhone.
That's what I failed at that part. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to do it from your laptop or from your computer if you can.
I can't get to my work email from home, from my computer. I can only get to it from my city phone. So do I need to share it with?
Well, so you'd have to call in with your phone, and I'd have to make you a co-host, and yeah, I don't think that's gonna.
That ain't gonna work.
Why don't you show us your phone?
Okay.
Can you show us your phone on the screen?
Jeremy, if you want to email it, do you have access to the chat function, Jeremy?
I'm on the iPhone app, so I have whatever is available.
All right, I'm going to put my email address in the chat function. If you will email this to the address that I put in the chat function that I will send to you, then I can display it for everybody.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Unless that can everybody see that? Will that work, or do you need more?
Well, if Sherry would say something, she'll come full screen.
Okay.
Her full screen, then we can look at her phone.
There we go. Does this mean I have
to?
Does this mean I have to continue to talk? I mean, I can just start reading something.
No. No. I think you're okay if no one else says anything.
Okay.
So that's your back fence, a masonry fence.
Oops.
He's muted. I can't hear him.
Sorry, that was in my previous home, that was a planter that went across the back. That was part of my 4-foot fence. Okay. And then the left side was the masonry mortar smear with the coping, fire rock coping, and then the grass, and it was irrigated grass. And the other side was patio deck. And so our plan is to utilize the covered porch that's within the side yard of our house for recreation and stuff, and then to do the pool out, and then do the more, small lip of mortar smear, just so that we don't have to do retaining walls.
Okay.
And take up more
and
space.
So it would all be grass. So it would all be grass like that is that.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why it's represented that way as turf, to show that everything that I had applied for last time that was going to be pervious, was going to be pavers on a sand base, would now just be grass. The whole thing's just grass. And again,
back to the original question, that photograph that you call a mortar smear, but that gray concrete, it looked like that edge, that the grass comes up to, I'm assuming that edge is within the 450 square feet you're showing on the drawing for the pool. It's part of that 450 square feet.
I wouldn't dare try to make it any bigger, considering.
Okay. So, yeah, the 450 square feet on the drawing shows all water. So I think everyone thought, well, there's all water and you're putting grass up to it. That was the concern.
Well,
The fact you're putting an
there's a
edge
black
around
line.
Yeah, true. And that black line, if we made it a foot thick into the blue, you say that's your wall.
That's would be our planned wall. Yes, we would still have to apply for the permits. Because I talked to the pool builder, and he says, you know,
it's just we're trying to figure out that your impervious starts at that line for 450, not comes past it. That wasn't being talked about. So that I think answers the question.
So that would hopefully be, based on our conversation last time, that would be pervious because it's a pool and it catches groundwater, catches stormwater. And the impervious would be the carport, but that's not the variance at this point. The variance is for total accessory structures, which is what Ms. Sherry pointed out.
I'm still a little concerned about the carport and the power pole behind it and across the alley. We had a previous case on Broadway by the elementary school where they had to move the carport because of the power pole on the school property or at the school property across
the power pole's on the other side of the alley from me.
That's
not on
what
my
I'm saying.
side.
That's what I'm saying. It was across the alley on the school side of the alley and not the.
Were they running into it or something?
It was felt that there was not adequate space to back out, or, you know, and I mean, you may not be the only people pulling into it. Somebody else may pull into it and they may not be as well versed as backing into a carport as you are. So it's not always going to be, you know, we can't tell you it can only be y'all because you know how to back into one.
I understand. I've already had Alabama Power move the power pole that was already on my side, which didn't serve my house. I've already had them move it over.
Well, they wouldn't for the school, so that was the whole issue. So
right, yeah.
You know, so that just, I mean, having had that issue before, it concerns me now.
Yes,
so,
ma'am. The house that we moved from, we were on the woodland alley that was closed off. And so it was a pedestrian alley really that we used as our driveway. And then we were able to back into our garage from there. And the neighbors on the north side of us, they had a deck that was non-conforming that literally came all the way to the alley edge. So that was, we're not novel, not new to that.
Mr. Allen, I did want to let you know that we did get an email of support from one of your neighbors. I didn't want you to think that we hadn't received one. We did get one from a Robert Richter.
Okay. Thank you.
We done? I move we approve the BZA case SV 20-09-05.
I'll second.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Ms. LaBeouf?
No.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Jarman?
No.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
We have 3 noes and 2 yeses.
Okay, so it was not approved. Sorry. Okay. This next case is SV 200906. I believe Ms. Williams has some comments about this, or
Has anybody, first of all, is there anybody here, the applicant, for this case?
I saw Mr.
Yes.
Silverstein.
Yes, this is David Silverstein. I'm here.
Hey, Mr. Silverstein. I had sent you what was probably a very confusing staff report, but I didn't hear from you today, and I didn't know if you had gotten it or if you were out of town or what was going on. I figured this was something that you were going to want to discuss with staff. Because based on the code, a variance would not be an option. The church, since the church owns both of those lots, and there is space available within the church campus portion of the whole site, then the church is able to provide its own relief. In this case, a variance would not be an option.
Well, I appreciate, yes, I did get your staff report and thought we would, have a discussion during this session tonight, although I think I would maybe respectfully disagree and like to discuss further because, well, Mr. Jarman, may we just open the case up and allow me to say some remarks, and then we can.
Absolutely. I just, yeah. The only reason it's just rather confusing, and I didn't know if everybody would want to get together at the office and discuss it before it came to the board. But if
well,
you are certainly, this is your time, and you're certainly welcome to discuss it all you want.
Well, if look, I would certainly defer to you, Sherry. If you would prefer that we have further discussions with the staff, I'm certainly willing to do that. I didn't read the report in that light, but more than happy to try to discuss with staff the nuances of this to see if we can, reach a better understanding. That's not a problem at all.
Do you understand though what I'm saying? Since both the lots.
I think that what perhaps differentiates this is that we've been through a rezoning of, although the church does own both lots, they're separate, they're distinct zonings. The site on which the proposed boutique office building is to be located is now zoned C1.
The zoning has, yeah, it's not the zoning designation that is the point here. It's just the church owns both of the lots, and that would make it considered a zoning lot. So if one, say, the office building portion is unable to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance for those 8 parking spaces, but there is space within that church campus area, just right out, just adjacent to the building itself. I think it was that little strip that was shown on the plan that you sent. And since both properties are owned by the entity and they are contiguous, one lot has the available space to provide relief to this lot, and that's how it would have to go prior to any discussion of variances or anything else. The first form of relief would be from the church itself for those 8 parking spaces?
Well, I would, let me just say this, that, we've been working with the church for, I guess, close to 18 months now, starting with coming up with a development plan that would certainly be appropriate for this particular location. There is considerable grade change between Shades Creek Parkway and the parking on the north side where the church is. It's about a 50-foot grade change.
Yeah.
When we met with the Jennifer Andrus, who is the council person for this
Right.
district, helped us with the neighborhood meeting. Our commitment to the neighbors, and not only to the neighbors, but to the church as well, is to preserve the integrity of as much of the green space that the church has. Now, this site, the particular portion of the site where the building is going, certainly there will be trees that will come down, but there's a gorgeous magnolia tree right there on Shades Creek Parkway that we certainly want to preserve. But the church has a gorgeous green lawn area in the front, and it's very important to the church that they be able to maintain that, and that's what we're certainly trying to do, not encroach on that particular area of the church. There is an abundance of parking on the north side of the church that we definitely, through cross parking easements, have access to, and we've worked out that with the church. I guess a fundamental issue is that instead of that parking being 150 feet from us, it's 450 feet. So these 8 spaces fall outside, or could fall outside that 150 feet. And I would say to you that in today's world, with the right kinds of developments, less asphalt is being required or being requested than more. And parking in this type of building, it's not a high density building at all from a parking standpoint. It's a Class A boutique building that is in keeping with the other types of buildings that are in this vicinity. We just think that it is would be a very aggressive position to take, to have to build 8 spaces in the lawn area of the church in the front there on Shades Creek, versus being able to utilize the parking, and there's tons of it that's behind the church on the north side that doesn't get used during the week at all, except I'm sure the pastor who's on the call here tonight parks his car there. But during the week, there's just such an abundance of parking that, we feel like there ought to be a reasonable way to allow for these 8 spaces to be utilized in that existing parking area versus trying to encroach on the church's side. Because our commitment to the church and to the neighbors is to try to preserve the integrity of that beautiful lawn area.
And I agree that this is a very challenging piece of property to develop, and I did look at the grade, and yeah, it would be difficult. The problem is not that we just don't want to do it or don't like it, or that we're just trying to take a stand on this. The issue is the zoning ordinance does not allow it, and does not, at this point, with it being in common ownership by the church, the board has no authority at this point to grant any kind of a variance for these properties. That's why I thought that it would be good for us to sit down and discuss it, try to explain it a little bit better to you, because it can be confusing and convoluted, and try to figure out a way to either come up with, a plan of some sort.
Would it be possible for them for the property to contract with the church for additional parking in some legal manner that would maybe get them around this?
They already
do.
have several agreements,
Several.
cross parking agreements and other parking easements. And I mean, all of this, staff does not disagree that there is ample parking there. The code also requires that when you have a cross parking agreement that, the parking spaces only be 150 feet away, and that's the pedestrian path to those spaces. There's oodles of parking behind the church. But it's 450 feet away. So again, the code is restricting this. There are two, there's another path that I believe we should discuss in a meeting, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. I don't know if it makes any difference, but the C1 lot that the building is going to be on is yes, the church will continue on it, but there's a 99-year. We're having a lot of feedback, so I don't know if there will be a 99-year ground lease on that. So in essence, it's as if it's tantamount to a fee ownership, but it's not technically a fee ownership. I certainly appreciate your comments. Don't want to take up more time debating in front of the board here, because there are other cases, obviously. But I certainly am willing to revisit with you and try to come up. Mike Kendrick may have some ideas to weigh in on this to see how we skin the cat.
Well, and we actually spoke with Mr. Kendrick about this, and he agreed that this was the stance that needs to be taken in these situations. We had another one not too long ago come up, and we actually went over the whole code section with Mr. Kendrick last week. And Vicki, are you still with us? Vicki and I talked with Mr. Kendrick for a while, and
I'm still here.
I'm sorry?
I'm still here.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Kendrick is the one who that we were correct in interpreting the code this way, that the way it's written, when two lots are owned by the same person or the same entity, and you can't get a variance because you can provide your own relief to whatever challenges you face or where you cannot meet code.
Yeah, but that's what creates the hardship. The hardship is such that to build more parking and disrupt the gorgeous lawn area in the front of the church is not a reasonable solution. In light of the fact that you have this, as you said, abundance of parking. So I would say to you, there is a hardship that's imposed upon the church because the two lots, although owned by the same entity, do have the hardships that are presented, topographical and as well as landscaping. And you add the third factor in, and that is we all recognize there is an abundance of parking, and we need not just say, in my opinion, that you got to build those parking spaces and asphalt the green lawn. That doesn't really So we're in agreement that we need to figure out a solution.
Yes,
So
sir. We're
I am,
absolutely in agreement. And I completely understand your, and staff was writing a very supportive report when this particular code section came into play. And at that point, staff just went, oh my goodness, because it was not happy news to us either. But I believe there, are you still with me?
I am.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
I believe that there is a path to what you would like to do, and but it
Well,
will not.
hold my hand and let's go down that path.
Let's try going down that path, but the path is down that path tonight.
Okay. Brian, I'm certainly prepared to spend the time. I mean, my goodness, we've been working on it this long. There's no need not to spend a little longer to try to make this a win-win for everybody.
And it's a beautiful building. It's going to be a beautiful development. We just have a little hitch we got to take care of. Okay.
Okay.
Sherry, if I may ask one, sorry, this is David Silverstein Jr.
Yes, sir.
If I may ask one question, I know the article and section that you're referencing with respect to the non-conforming lots. And I guess I'm looking for a little bit of guidance as to the city's interpretation on that provision, because the way that I interpret that article is that it's with respect to lot width and area requirements. And if I believe that when we're talking about parking, we're talking about the number of parking spaces as to a use requirement. So I guess I was a little confused as to, as you're speaking towards a variance not being viable, you seem to be kind of hanging your hat on that specific article and section. So I was confused by that.
So am I. Does that help any?
Yeah.
Okay, look, let's do this. Well, if you believe that you have some ideas about getting us to the finish line, I will request a continuance if that's
if Vicky, Vicky, do you want to?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Do you have your ordinance there with you? Your pocket ordinance?
No, I didn't bring it home tonight. No.
I've got mine pulled up if I can share my screen.
Can you get to the code of ordinances?
I'm there now.
No, I'm Vicky.
Oh.
Well, I can. I mean, you just give me. I've got 2 computers, 2 phones.
I know, I do too. I've got things dinging and beeping all over the place and vibrating. If with Mr. Drummond's permission, Vicky, I want you to read that code. I want you to see if perhaps we did jump too quickly. If it does only apply to width and area.
Our opinions aside, Mr. Kendrick's going to have to be involved if we change that opinion.
Well,
but I certainly don't mind you reading the ordinance, but I mean,
well, let's hold on to this for a few more minutes with Mr. Drummond's permission and cover the other cases on the agenda. And then by that time, maybe Vicky will have read it.
I believe I've got the section where it's going to be applicable, and I think he's right. It says if
lot width and area. I believe he is correct.
Exactly.
But I didn't get in there and say he was correct without somebody else saying he was correct also.
Yeah, it says common ownership adjacent contiguous Form 1 as long when it does not meet the minimum requirements for lot width and area. So apparently, we've been.
Is this not an area? situation because they don't have enough area to provide.
Yeah, it's
No,
a
this is-
use.
Yeah,
It's
this,
not
no,
the
this,
use.
they're talking
It's
about minimum lot
it's
size and minimum
specifically
lot width.
dimensions. It's specifically dimensions then.
Yes,
Okay.
it's
Then-
lot width and lot size.
Thank goodness. I have never been so happy to be wrong.
Yeah, and so we can
That's the
put in
first.
the
That's the first. That's the first time my son's been right in a long time.
Well, it's the first time in a very long time that I've told a man I was wrong. So
Yeah. In
but I have
public.
to know when Vicky, please tell them
Yeah.
that when I saw this, I called you and I was just like, oh my gosh. But at that time, and not that it's really
Well,
an
we were
excuse,
taught,
we had,
we were taught, we had another situation, was in a residential, and it did have to do with lot width and area. So when this came up, because we were trying to look at it from a standpoint of, can you not remedy it all by yourself because the area is there for it? I mean, I understand the part about green, and I'm a big believer that our standards for parking spaces are way too high as it is. So anyway, so on that note, we can say that this does not apply. So what they're asking for is a waiver to from 90 spaces down to 82.
correct. And there, the cross parking agreements and the everything else has been recorded and or will be recorded with the documents when they are recorded. Staff was very supportive of this request until this other thing popped in and made me nauseous. So,
Is it possible to vote on this subject to the city's final interpretation of whether the other or any other code provision prohibits this?
I
as far
believe
as
you can go ahead and vote on it.
you can, this
As
case
far-
it has not been pulled from the agenda. It is on the agenda. If the public hearing letters went out,
Yeah.
this case could be treated like any other that's on the agenda and can be discussed and voted on like any other case.
It's a waiver. Yeah, it's a waiver of the 8 spaces.
It's
that
just
they're
a
showing.
basic variance just to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 90 to whatever it is.
Right, that's all we're
Count
voting.
82. Huh?
That's all we're voting on right now. If there were some other reason why this couldn't be approved, and I don't know what that is, then that could come up later. But if we vote subject to that, vote on the 8 spaces and however the chips fall, they fall. But I think that'll be the most efficient use of our time.
Yeah. Because the public hearing letters went out for, the reduction from 90 to whatever it is, from 90 to 82. That's how the public notice letters went out. That's the whole thing. If the board wants to discuss that portion and open it up, then I think staff has no problem with it.
Well, if staff and one of our resident lawyers seems to think it's okay, I guess that would be prudent to do. Okay, Mr. Silverstein, if you would state your name and address and the nature of your hardship, please.
You're muted. You're muted.
I'm trying. Sorry, David Silverstein. Forgot who I was. David Silverstein, the Five Stone Group. 2130 Highland Avenue, Birmingham 35205. The hardship being the topography of the site in question where we're proposing to build the office building is very extreme, and working with the church and trying to preserve their landscaping area in front of their building on Shades Creek Parkway presents a challenge to provide the 90 required spaces, and we request that we be given a waiver of 8 spaces to be required to build 82 spaces. And in addition, we have ample cross parking rights with the church as well.
Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. If okay, seems like it's a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak about this case, do so at this time. You can put your names on the speaker list, and you'll be called to speak. Looks like we have one in queue, Mr. Schrader. If you would like to state your public comments, please.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. I'll try to make this go quick since you guys have given us a bunch of time on this case already. I'm the vice president of Shades Valley Lutheran Church. I'm also a landscape architect, so I know enough about it to be dangerous when it comes to these real estate and zoning problems. We, as a congregation, kind of asked these guys to go down this path just so we could preserve this lawn area that I think we've all kind of got a good impression of how we all feel about that. And not just us, this was one of the things that our neighbors, when we presented this plan to them originally, they were happy to see that we were saving some of the lawn. You know, this is just, it's really kind of important to us as a congregation. It's really part of who we are. You know, our faith kind of moves us to care not just for other people, but for all of creation. And I think we've beaten to death the idea that we have plenty of parking surrounding our building that we're not using very much during the week. So I won't beat that again too much. Something we haven't really touched on too much is our proximity to Shades Creek. That was another concern that came from the neighbors as well as from people within our own congregation. We know that's an impaired waterway. There's a bunch of people in our congregation who have worked on work days to clean up, including myself, just getting trash and debris out of that creek. So we're really concerned about adding any more impervious area than we absolutely have to, so that we don't have any new adverse effects on that creek. I had a lot more written down, but in the interest of everybody's time, I'll keep it short. I would just respectfully request that you consider approving this request. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Paul Schabacker. Sorry about that.
Yeah, this is Paul Schabacker. I'm also a member of Shades Valley Lutheran Church. And I'll be very brief just to say that this is a change that we've requested from the Silverstone group, from the Firestone group, excuse me, in terms of making a better outcome for our entire community as well as the congregation. In simple parlance, I would call this a victimless crime. So we appreciate the support of the group. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, seeing we have no other speakers in the queue, we will close the public portion and open it up to questions from the board. Yeah. Mr. Silverstein, judging by the, can't really share my screen, but the drawing we have here, is that to scale? I mean, I've been by that property, but is that to scale? That little bitty building right there is what we're building on?
Oh,
that
no, no,
massive
no,
property?
no. That's so misleading. The actual, you know, the footprint that's shown of that parking, where if you look closely, that is actually the footprint of where the building will be. The building will sit on top of that parking area, just like City Hall does, sits on top of the parking garage. So will
Do
this
they have a
building.
site plan?
I believe, Mr. Jarman, if you look on in staff's report, at just the pictures and don't read any of the silly words, you'll see that the image of the building on page 2.
Yes, saw that.
And directly underneath that is what this parking is, where it's, and then on page 3, it says parking area underneath building. That's the
Yes,
footprint
got
of the building. That little building that you're seeing must be an existing shed or something that used to be there or is there, and I don't know what that building is, but
Sherry, I believe that is an existing Boy Scout hut.
yeah, it's something that's not applicable to this.
Okay, that's fine. I must have just lost your stuff in this 8,000 pages
I
out
know.
here. So that was my question leading to, there is actually on-site parking going on with the building
The
itself.
majority of the parking, yes, the majority of the parking will be underneath the building. 45 of the required spaces, which, so half of the required spaces will be underneath the building in their below grade garage.
And we have the new parking lot coming off of what is that? Shades Creek? No. Yes. No.
Lucky Drive.
Lucky Drive.
Lucky
Thank
Drive,
you. There we
right. You have one level of parking under the building, and then on the north side of the building, where you enter the first floor, you have an additional 21. How many spaces? Yeah. So the majority of the parking is contained right adjacent to the building.
Gotcha. Okay. And forgive me, the percentage, Sherry, the percentage of the parking spaces is a percentage of the square footage of the building? Or is that what generally dictates the number of spaces for commercial?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be based on that. And I was trying to find you the code section.
I believe it's 3 per 1,000 square feet. So
yeah.
for approximate 30,000 square foot building, you would need by code 90 spaces.
Right, and you need 8, so that's 8,000 square feet. Okay. Okay.
And another thing to consider is that for this type of use, Mr. Silverstein, I could be wrong again, but it's parked for the building square footage and not public space that's used in the building. Is that correct? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't take you get all of the building footprint. You don't deduct the space that is used for, the
like if there's a 5,000. Sorry, I was going to interrupt it. There's like a 5,000 square foot foyer where no one actually is at. You don't count that.
Right.
That still counts with the total.
That's correct.
Right. So, and you don't deduct the space for the restrooms, and you don't deduct, private spaces where people would never go. So
that's right.
It's not customer service area, it's square footage, which
that's correct. That's absolutely
is not
correct.
really even, it really doesn't even make any sense for this particular case.
Right.
So I can step in on that one. Keep in mind the 3 per 1,000, it knows it has all those kind of spaces in it, but we're not losing 8 spaces. They're just redirecting the 8 spaces to be with adjacent parking. It's really, so that's what the waiver is. It's not that they're losing 8. They can have 8 parking spaces. They can actually have more up the hill with the parking available from the church's parking lot.
It just doesn't meet the 150 foot.
Yeah, it just doesn't make the 150 feet, which is so American. You're not allowed to walk. Really?
Hey,
Gosh,
I'm
So,
surprised it's that much.
yeah, I tend to like to park further away and walk. But can I make a motion? Is everyone done? I want to move on.
Sure.
So I'll make a motion to accept or to approve a waiver from 90 to 82 parking spaces for this project with the agreement cross parking rights that they'll be having with the church for those additional 8 spaces.
Nice second.
Okay, have a motion and a second.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. LaBeouf,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Jarman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Can I vote?
Sure.
Okay, your variance request is approved. 180 days full permit.
Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate your patience.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, moving on.
Hallelujah.
SV2.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I wasn't muted.
200907, 1901 Mayfair Drive.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, this is William Siegel with Twin Construction. The variance request is, I live at 1707 Shades Park Drive in Homewood. We are requesting a 2.4 foot right building setback for a master bathroom addition on Mayfair Drive. We are not getting any closer to the current property line. We are currently at that 7.6 feet. We're just requesting to go straight back so we can fit the addition in between an existing screen porch. We'll be using like materials on the addition with matching brick and hard coat stucco as well.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this case, they may do so at this time. Seeing no one in the queue, we will close the public portion and open up to questions from the board.
This is a one-story addition, by the way, just to clarify.
And going straight back, right?
That's correct.
I have no questions, Brian.
It looks like we're just tying in, squaring off to the screen porch to the side of the house.
That's correct.
Sorry, you had to wait. I got no questions.
Nothing else here.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve BZA case SV 20-09-07.
A second.
Ms.
Okay, I have
Smith?
a motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Keep doing
Jumped
that.
again, my bad.
No, I jumped again.
You may proceed.
Thanks. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Le-
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Jarman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Thank you. You're approved. You have 180 days to pull your permits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you in a minute. Next case. SV 200908, 201 Broadway Street.
Yes, William Siegel, Twin Construction, 1707 Shades Park Drive in Homewood. We are requesting a 15.2 foot front building setback on this corner lot. It's actually the Palmetto Street side. This is on the corner of Palmetto and Broadway. The house currently has a partial second story. We're planning to add on to the back of the house and go up What we would like to do is add a little relief on the left side. I was not aware y'all did not have the left elevation, but we did try to circulate that this afternoon. I'm not sure if everybody got a copy, but this side setback specifically would be for a one-story side entry porch to help the reveal on that side.
I emailed this to y'all this afternoon. I don't know if you got it. Can you see it?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the only side that we were requesting a setback. The other sides are all in compliance.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this case, they may sign in and do so at this time. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public portion and open up to questions from the board. And Mr. Siegel, look at this elevation on the left side. The portion that would be closest to Palmetto, would that, is it the, I guess, a little side jut out? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the setback on that side would be 25 feet. So, I mean, the existing building is out of compliance already. But what we're trying to do, I mean, we're still well off the property line, but we're trying to create a little reveal on that side. So, you know, as you know, you need to have two front-facing elevations if you're on a corner lot, just from a visual standpoint. So we're trying to create some kind of reveal on that side so it doesn't look like the side of the house running all the way down.
Right. Yeah. I'm just asking the closest. That's the point that's jutting out. That kind of entryway there.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that can't be more than what, 4 or 5 feet out?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think it's 4.5 feet.
Okay.
I understand your concern for the way that looks, you know, being on two front sides.
Yeah, it's not.
I hate this terminology, but anyway, I mean, having two fronts and that being down the longest side. But it looks to me like it could have been designed a little differently to make that not quite as large as it was.
Well, it's not
Really
let me clarify. It's not a design request. I guess it's a setback request due to the corner lot.
Yeah, but it just seems like it could have been reduced. Or am I being real picky?
Well, I mean, technically, I don't know how you make a side entry that's more narrow than that.
Well, you go straight in it.
You could.
You could.
That would be an option.
As if we haven't discussed enough minutia tonight, you know. That's just my take on it. But because if I'm wrong, I mean, I didn't look over the fence, but there's not anything like that on the existing house, correct? I mean,
there is not.
I didn't look into the fenced area.
Yeah, there's not. No, that fence will be removed and pushed back on the property, but no, currently over the fence, there's not that structure. But you're also not, I mean, you can see on the survey, the property line is not on the street either. You know, you've got plenty of room on that side.
I've got this real colorful survey here. Looks like we're, if I'm reading this right, we're dumping driveway where that jut out's going to be, where that entryway is going to be. Is that?
Yeah, essentially they've got concrete everywhere. They've got concrete on the side and the back. And so what we're doing, we're cutting out, we're actually proposing to cut out more of the driveway that's drawn on there now in the back because they don't need it. And we've got to meet impervious calcs. And so Yeah, we're trying to remove all the concrete on that left side where we're planning to put that addition. Not trying, we are. If this is granted, we will be removing all the concrete over there and in lieu put this bump out.
Okay.
Yeah, the renovation will actually improve the impervious calculations. It's currently non-conforming. It will be conforming when we're complete.
But the location of the curb cut will not change, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Entertain a motion if anyone, unless anyone has any more questions.
I move we approve BZA case SV 20-09-08.
Second.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. LaBeouf,
Yes.
did you, okay,
Yes.
okay. Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Jarman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
5 yeses.
Yeses. All right, Mr. Siegel, you variance is
Thank you.
approved. 180
Yeah.
days to pull your permit.
Y'all have a good night. Bye.
You too. All right. The final case, case number 9, SV 200909, which is number 3 Pomona Avenue. Is Mr. or Miss Reagan with us?
Yes. Yes, this is Robert Reagan. My screen showed up as Chip, but I go by either. Robert's my legal name. Address is 3 Pomona Avenue, and we are looking to build a screen porch on the back of our house. Our hardship is that there is a taper to our lot, and there is only one entrance or exit on the back of the house, which is on that side where the structure is currently, the proposed structure is drawn out. The variance that we're looking for is about 2 feet 11 inches. Now it's actually an improvement in the setback, as we would be removing an existing detached structure to build this project. The current structure is right on that retaining wall. The property line is on the other side of the retaining wall. It's about a 2-foot setback currently. So we'd be looking to improve the current situation on that. And I trust that you got the letter from my neighbor that's adjacent saying that in his view, this was an improvement to the setback and the project overall.
Yes, we did get a letter from Mr. Watley, at number 5.
Excellent. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to this case, they may do so at this time by adding their name to the speaker list. Okay, looks like we have no one on the speaker list, so we will close the public portion and open it up to questions from the board.
So it's kind of like the previous one we had. This is the full setback. This is kind of a triangle piece that's jetting across the setback. It looks like it's probably about a foot on one end, and it's the 2 foot 11 on the other end. So it's kind of like another triangle piece that we're talking about here. Correct? I'm reading that right?
Correct. That is correct. Due to the lot being tapered, sorry.
Right. And the structure that we're getting rid of is right on that wall, I believe.
Correct.
Right. That we'll get rid of. So definitely, I agree with the neighbor, an improvement from that standpoint.
And is this, yeah, this is just an addition of the screened-in porch. That's the scope of the project?
Correct.
It's a new screened-in porch.
Yes, this is a new screened-in porch. I apologize if that was confusing.
Thank you, Ty.
I did not have anything further.
Okay. I move we approve BZA case SV 20-09-09.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. LaBeouf,
Yes.
Mr. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Jarman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses.
Excellent. Your variance request is approved. You have 180 days to pull your permit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
All right. This is a fun one. With no further business, I guess we will close this meeting of the Board of Zoning Adjustments.
I would have lost the bet. We did a good job to do this all in 2 hours, guys.
Yeah.
You have,
156.
you don't know what goes on behind the scenes.